Because the WNBA has right now a lot of coaches that are coming out, including in the last day or two, saying, hey, if a man identifies as a woman, he should be able to play in the WNBA. I think that is absolutely ludicrous. It's absurd. The WNBA commissioner has not spoken out in favor of Sophie Cunningham or even just in favor of basic rules. It's called the WNBA because it's the Women's Basketball Association there, right? If they are going to allow men to play, I think we should have an actual game, not NBA players against WNBA players, high school boys. Let me pick a team. I will put it on pay-per-view. We'll donate all of the profits to Tunnel to Towers for wounded warriors, for the families out there that they're helping to take care of, first responders. You know Frank Siller. They do incredible work. We'll put it on pay-per-view. If the high school boys win, I will give them $10 million. If the WNBA team wins, I will give them $10 million. I think we would raise tens of millions of dollars for charity, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If the WNBA really doesn't believe that men are that much better than women at basketball, then the champion of the WNBA should be able to beat a bunch of high school boys. So far, they haven't responded. They always talk about how they want more money. This is more money for one basketball game than has ever been paid to win in the history of the sport.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. So Clay Travis has put out an offer to the WNBA for the best WNBA team at the moment, the Las Vegas Aces, to compete against the best high school boys team. And of course, he's doing this amidst the coaches like Cheryl Reeve coming forward in support of trans kids. In other words, in support of male athletes competing in the category that aligns with their gender identity. We had Stephanie White saying that she doesn't believe in exclusion, that nobody should be excluded. So that is inviting male athletes to compete in the WNBA. And it's disregarding young girls who have had to compete against boys in high school, even in middle school, girls who don't consent to that, being forced into a situation where they've had to compete against boys and obviously having their opportunities taken from them by boys who have no business competing in girls' categories. But because of gender identity, everybody's welcome. We don't exclude, except for the girls who didn't get that spot because it was taken by a male athlete. So this is what people are trying to explain to these woke activists, that you should be careful what you wish for. And obviously, we know there are differences between men and women. And when you say that somebody can identify themselves into the wrong category, you are completely ignoring those differences. You're ignoring the reason why we have categories in sports to begin with, sex-based categories. You're completely ignoring that and saying that, well, that's their gender identity, so never mind how it affects the women, how it affects the female athletes. So Clay Travis is trying to make a point, and I think it's pretty funny. And of course, the WNBA, as of now, is silent on the offer. So he said high school boys teams across the country are reaching out, wanting to play the WNBA champ, Las Vegas Aces. But the Aces are silent. Tells you everything. They know they would get smoked, but men should definitely be allowed to play in their league per coaches. Such a joke. So that's the point he is trying to make, and I think that's a very valid point indeed. And we know that men have advantages over women physically, that male athletes have advantages over female athletes. And it is not sexist to make this point. This is what I don't get. Look up the 100 meters record for high school boys, and then look up the 100 meters record for women. Flojo still holds that record. But apparently it's sexist to make such assertions when really it's just an observation and we can attribute it to biology. Biology is not sexist, it's just what it is. And the sooner people acknowledge that, especially these coaches, the better.
One last thing tonight. The entire world of women's sports is facing the debate within its own leagues of who should get to play and who should not. And a voice that often shouts loudly in that debate is a right-leaning outlet owned by Fox News called Outkick Sports. And today its founder took to a new stunt, one that really makes no sense if Outkick is really concerned about caring about women in women's sports. So Clay Travis, he's the man behind Outkick. He announced today he's offering $10 million to the winner of a game of basketball between a high school boys team of his choosing and the WNBA defending champions, the Las Vegas Aces. I thought to myself, why? But obviously the answer is because he thinks it is so impossible for any group of women, let alone the best in the game, that they could ever beat younger and more inexperienced boys. It's a thinly veiled sexist joke, revealing the actual truth of how he and his organization feel about women's sports. It's not about caring about them. They think women's sports are a joke.
And what these people, these woke activists, are failing to understand is that it's you making a joke out of women's sports by saying that a man can simply identify himself into the women's category, into the WNBA, into the women's national soccer team, just identify himself into it and steal opportunities away from female athletes. That makes a joke out of women's sports. It's devaluing what the women's category stands for, a separate category based on sex. And don't bring race into it, they love to do that. So that women can compete in sports equally. Women cannot compete at a level that goes outside of their biology. High school girls have been forced to attempt it for the longest time now, and clearly it doesn't work. All that happens is these girls end up losing out, being excluded from their own sport, and being traumatized by the experience, especially when that comes with having boys in their locker rooms. It's the ones who are forcing women to compete against men who are the misogynists, not the people who acknowledge biology. And we've seen WNBA players attempt to compete against high school boys, and it has proven futile, even against high school boys. We're not talking about, top-class female athletes competing against male couch potatoes. We're talking about female athletes against male athletes. And doing that is only going to prove why we have categories in sports. Megan Rapinoe, the national women's soccer team, didn't fare too well against high school boys. Under 15s, they lost. What was it, 5-2? And this is a women's national soccer team that has won multiple World Cups. Multiple World Cups. Male bodies are different from female bodies. Identity should never be a factor when we're talking about sports. Calling it sexist to acknowledge reality is just a manipulation tactic, as far as I'm concerned. You're more concerned, these people, with their woke agenda than the well-being of female athletes, than female athletes actually having equal opportunities. And the reality is people are excluded from sports, especially when you're competing at a certain level. We can't just walk up and say we want to compete in the Olympics. We have to qualify. And a male athlete does not qualify to compete in any female category. So yes, male athletes should be excluded from the women's category because it's the women's category. People are even questioning if these coaches know what the W stands for in the WNBA. That's how ridiculous they sound.
Look at your screen. A French trans player says if the WNBA gives them a chance to play in the league, they would not turn down an offer.
So now we have people pointing out this French basketball player, this male French basketball player who competes in women's basketball over there. It's very much a possibility that we will see the likes of this in the WNBA, since they're so open to it, since they don't want to exclude anybody. And this guy is absolutely huge. I feel for the French women who have to compete against this guy. I absolutely feel for them. And some people, again, in an attempt to want the WNBA to be given what they want, they are saying that, wow, why doesn't he join the WNBA? Why doesn't he get picked up? Absolutely not. Don't do that. Don't go there. We do not want the likes of this French basketball player anywhere near the WNBA. Yes, it will make a good point, and it will be interesting to see them being given what they want. But we do not want this guy up against Sophie Cunningham. We do not want this guy up against Caitlin Clark. We don't want him dunking on Aaliyah Boston. We don't want to see that. But I know there's people who secretly and openly want to see it. because usually the best way to wake people up is to give them what they want.
I do have to say, this is what's concerning, right? So for so long, women have fought for equal rights in sports, through Title IX, and to know that first of all, vast majority of Americans do not agree with biological males playing in women's sports, and now you're seeing the fact that the WNBA, they really are treading very carefully on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they move forward and start accepting transgender individuals to play.
Matt, they are flying really close to the sun here. You and Mercy have 5 daughters. What do you think about this turn in women's sports?
So we spent some time in France lately. I didn't see any French men who were as ripped and physically intimidating as that player is.
I'm sure there's some WNBA players that want those people on their team to you can win.
Yeah, you can win. To cheat. That's right. So look, I just think until professional sports in America starts listening to the people who buy tickets and watch them, and fulfills the dreams of little girls who might one day want to play on their teams, they are going to be stuck in this position where a lot of people say, you know what, I think I will watch college sports.
So it's pretty insane. But again, it is a matter of be careful what you wish for. If you decide you want to protect the women's category because you want to be inclusive and not exclude anybody in a sex-based category, then it's only a matter of time before you see the consequences of that. If you want everybody to be included, just make sure that everybody competes in the correct category. And that way, women don't get excluded. So let me know what you think. Do you think the WNBA should give Julie Tetart a chance? Or are you with me in saying absolutely not? I would be curious to see the Las Vegas Aces compete against high school boys, though. That would definitely be interesting. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video. And a huge thanks to all of those who have hyped my videos. It is greatly appreciated.